from Pure Water Pools here in Charlottesville, Virginia, and we're going to show you the basic taking care of one of the pools that we've built last year. First thing, you always go from the deck down, from the top down. So if your deck is dirty, you want to clean your deck off, whether you use a bucket or whether you use a hose or whether you use an air blower. Next thing we do is we're going to skim after we clean the deck off. If you look at the way this is, sometimes you can see the water patterns from the jets in the pool, or you can feel where the air is. Generally, you move in the direction of the way the air moves. That'll help you net. I use a forward and back motion. My front hand is down and my rear hand is up. That way I can hold on to it and go. Notice I don't go all the way across the pool because I use the swirls and the eddies to push the stuff over to the opposite side. So by the time I get to the other side of the pool, all the refuse and waste will be pushed over there. I also touch with the edge of my skimmer and the net, which pulls off anything that's sort of stuck on the tile. So we'll go ahead and just finish this up. Okay. All right, put it on pause. Good.
Yeah.
All right, as you can see, we've gone one time around, and we've gotten everything off the walls, we've gotten everything off of the skimming. Doesn't take a lot of time to do this. Another note is, the shallower your net is in the water, the less resistance and the ease it moves. Okay? That's it. What we're going to do, going from our principle of top down, is to use vacuum. Now this particular vac head is used more for your concrete and gunite pools. There are vinyl liner vacuums that are safer so it won't rip your vinyl. I grab it by the head so it's easy to work with. Careful of these two straps, they will pinch you. Put it in. Now, if you'll come here for a second, this hose has two ends to it. One's a blue end, and on this particular hose model, it's a swivel. The swivel end goes into the head of your vac head. Now, there's several ways to prime this hose. This hose has to be filled with water. If you don't fill it with water, it could lose prime in the pump, and it takes that much longer to get it going. So what we're going to do is throw this in right now, extend our wonderful pull out. Now, notice that the top is fed the way it is. It's coiled up just right the way we like it. So we're going to push this to the bottom. And I'm slowly going to push this hose against the edge of the pool as my hose spins around, perfectly priming our hose. Really, it's easier said than done, or videoed. Okay, now I'm going to go through. Some pools have a dedicated vacuum line. A lot of pools just use the skimmer. We'll go through the skimmer mouth. You can come over here and see this. There's only one skimmer hole there. A little trick of the trade, I pull my hose up so it locks in place. Put it on pause. Now that we've primed our hose and put it into the skimmer, now we want to isolate that. If you pull and suck off of the skimmer and the main train at the same time, you'll never get a vacuum. You have to isolate it. Now, for these valves here, this is shutting off of the main drain. Notice that the handle is in line with the main drain. It's a non-intuitive valve. It's not like all the other gas valves and water valves you've ever seen. It's non-intuitive. This means that now the skimmer is open and the main drain is shut. If I start to vacuum and it wants to stick too much, we can literally just barely crack open the main drain, and this will help you relieve pressure. Following along with our principle of top to bottom, we don't start vacuuming in the deep end. We really want to vacuum in the shallow end first. On another note, you notice that I didn't backwash the system first. Why? Because it's already got a little bit of particulate. It's already got some stuff in it. The more stuff that is in your filter, the finer the micron filtration rate will be. Right? Just like a breathing mask, the more stuff is in your breathing mask, the better it works. Same thing with a fan filter, a DE filter, or cartridge filter. Very simple. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, so now we've done vacuuming from the shallow end down to the deep end, from high to low. We're going to remove our hose and vac head this time. I allow it to pull out, and I allow it to unwind a little bit to get rid of the water and the remaining refuse that's in the hull. We're going to lift this up. You'll watch the hose move around. There's air in the line. As soon as the air is finished here, I now pull it out. Thank you. Okay. Just make sure your chlorine is at the right level. Now we check our chems. Your chlorine is between 3 parts and 5 parts per million. However you use the injection method for your hard chlorine sticks or pucks, whether it's through a floater or whether it's through your skimmer or whether it's through a chlorinator, you just adjust accordingly. If you're putting it through your skimmer, you can dial the skimmer down so it doesn't suck as much water through the skimmer if it's too much chlorine. You can dial your chlorinators down. You can also dial your floaters down. Usually 2 floaters is good for a pool this size or larger. If it's a 18 by 36 by 8 foot deep or 20 by 40 by 8 foot deep, you might want 2 of those. This is working for this right now. If your alkalinity and your pH using regular chlorine starts to drop, which it will, the antidote for that is simply sodium bicarbonate. And you work off of your alkalinity reading. If you have a reading that's on the... Okay. If you have an alkalinity reading, say of 80, we want 80 to 120. It's on a slight low end. If I want to go from 80 to 100, then what I do for a 10,000 gallon pool is add simply 2 of these. This is roughly 1.5 pounds of sodium bicarbonate, which is simply baking soda, and you can make cookies in your pool. So again, if we're at 80 parts per million, we want to get to 100, and it's a 10,000 gallon pool, we would add 2 of these. So really, it's very simple to add a little bit of sodium bicarbonate once a week to bump up both the pH and the alkalinity and keep them in balance, which is why I absolutely love and highly recommend using regular chlorine for your pool. At the same point in time, once a week, you're also going to want to use calcium hypochlorite. This is a shock-based granular chlorine. You use 1 pound per 10,000 gallons. Because this is roughly a 15,000 gallon pool, this is 1.5 pounds, we're going to use 1 of these once a week. It's really simple. Now, if you have any visible algae growth, or if you start to develop a very bad problem, or if you have a lot of problems in the pool with algae or anything else, if you've had a high bather load, you can actually go up to 4 scoops of these per 15,000 gallons because it's 1.5 pounds. So 4 scoops is for a lot. If you have a mild problem, you might want to put 2 of these in, but average is 1 per 10,000 gallons. Okay. All right, let's get the system. We're going to put this back, go back to the system. So, we're back at the system again. Now we're going to take care of the system and we're going to backwash it. First thing we always do is shut it off. We're going to redo our valves. Again, this is a closed valve for the main drain. That is now an open valve for the main drain and an open valve for the skimmer. Counterintuitive. We come to here, we double check our hair and lint pot, make sure that it's empty, and in this particular one it is. If it wasn't, we would open it and knock the basket out. We're going to run out our backwash line for now. And we're going to adjust our multi-port valve on top of the filter. This is a multi-port valve. You want to take a top view of that? Filter, winterize, waste, closed, backwash, recirculate, and rinse. It's on filter. 2 hands, always press all the way down. Keep it pressed all the way down. Otherwise, you will ruin the spider gasket. Turn it 180 degrees to backwash. Allow the valve to go. We're going to turn it on for a few minutes. And we are now going to watch the sight glass as well as our backwash hose. The sight glass will get a little bit dirty. It's clean. You can see it start to get dirty now. That we know that the system is backwashing. Okay, pause. So as you can see from the sight glass here now, it's starting to just now clear up. Took us about a minute and 20 seconds on this one. Every system is different and unique. Watch the hose, watch your water at the end of the hose or your backwash line, and you also watch the sight glass. We're going to turn it off again. Remember, always turn off the pump whenever you're moving a valve. Now I'm going to hold both hands, press all the way down. I'm going to come to the rinse position. If filter was at 12 and backwash was at the 6 o'clock position, rinse is at the 10 o'clock position. We're now going to turn this back on and watch the rinse. The rinse doesn't take maybe 10 to 15% of the time of a normal backwash. That is a very clean and clear rinse. That means there's nothing coming out that line. Okay, so we're going to go back again, 2 hands, all the way down, rotate it back to the original starting position of filter, and pull in our backwash line. Start up the system again. Now, double check that there's water in your pot. It's primed. Double check that your starting pressure is good and that the pressure gauge shows. Make sure and double, triple check all your valves are open. And again, these are non-intuitive valves. Pause. The thing we do is we put in our once a week calcium hypochlorite, chlorine shock. We're going to brush it around the pool. You can use your shock on a plaster pool. If you have any stains, you can let it sit on the stains for a minute or 2, depending upon the stain, and over a period of a couple weeks, the stains often will be removed. If it's another type of stain, there are other types of stain removers. Ascorbic acid, citric acid, oxalic acid. There's all different types of stain removers for different things. Right now, we're going to go ahead and brush this pool, and that would conduct our service for this pool. Thank you for joining us.